Here's the first thing you need to understand. The marketplace pays for value. That's it. The marketplace doesn't pay for need. The marketplace doesn't pay for want. The marketplace doesn't pay for desire. The marketplace pays for value. It's one of the fundamental laws that governs our economic lives. Yet most people spend their time wishing things were different instead of becoming different themselves. You see, we live in a world where everyone is looking for the magic answer, the quick fix, the shortcut to success. But I'm going to tell you something that might be a bit uncomfortable at first. There are no shortcuts. Success is not an event, it's a process. It's the progressive realization of worthy goals. And to reach those goals, you must first become a person of value. Now let me ask you something. If I were to follow you around for a week, would I be impressed? Would I be inspired? Would I be intrigued? Would I be taught? Would I be amazed at your discipline, your insights, your dedication, your focus? Or would I be unimpressed? Would I be uninspired? Would I see the same old habits, same old results? You see, to become too valuable to be ignored, you must first take an honest inventory of where you are right now. And that can be the hardest part, because most people don't like what they see when they really look at themselves. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay where you are. You can change. You can grow. You can develop. You can transform. I once had a mentor say to me, Jim, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenges, wish for more wisdom. That philosophy changed my life, and it can change yours too. Let's talk about your personal value in the marketplace. What skills do you bring? What knowledge do you possess? What problems can you solve? What value can you add? These are the questions that determine your worth in the economic world. And the wonderful thing is you can increase your value every single day through a commitment to personal development. You know, when I was a young man, I met my mentor, Mr. Schoaf, and he asked me, Jim, how much money have you got saved? I said, none. He said, who sold you on that plan? It was a devastating question. Because up until that point, I hadn't realized I was on a plan. I was just doing what everyone else around me was doing, living paycheck to paycheck, hoping things would get better someday. And Mr. Schoaf taught me something I've never forgotten. He said, Jim, if you want to be valuable, you've got to have value to offer. If you want things to change, you've got to change. If you want things to get better, you've got to get better. If you want to have more, you've got to become more. Now let's talk about what it means to become valuable. First, it means developing your mind. The mind is like a muscle. It grows stronger with use. Read books, attend seminars, listen to audio programs associated with successful people. Become a lifelong student. I've often said that formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. I read somewhere that the average American reads less than 2 books per year. Less than 2. Is it any wonder why so many people struggle financially? Is it any wonder why so many people feel stuck in their careers? They're not feeding their minds with new ideas, new strategies, new perspectives. I made a commitment many years ago to read at least 30 minutes every day. That may not sound like much, but it adds up. 30 minutes a day is 3.5 hours per week, which is 182 hours per year. Do you know how many books you can read in 182 hours? A lot. And each of those books contains ideas that can transform your life, ideas that can make you more valuable in the marketplace. But reading alone isn't enough. You've got to apply what you learn. Knowledge isn't power until it's applied. So, as you're reading, constantly ask yourself, how can I use this? How can I implement this in my life? How can this make me more valuable? Next, to become valuable, you must develop your skills. What are you good at? What comes naturally to you? What do people compliment you on? These are clues to your natural talents and abilities. And here's the key, develop those talents to an exceptional level. You see, being average at something doesn't make you valuable. Being exceptional does. The marketplace rewards excellence, not mediocrity. As I've traveled around the world speaking to audiences like this one, I've noticed something interesting. The top 20% of performers in any field earn 80% of the rewards. That's just how it works. So if you want to be rewarded in the marketplace, you've got to be among the best at what you do. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you need to be the absolute best in the world. That's not realistic for most people. What I am saying is that you need to be among the best in your sphere of influence. You need to be exceptional compared to those around you. And here's the good news. Becoming exceptional doesn't necessarily require extraordinary talent. It requires extraordinary effort, extraordinary dedication, extraordinary discipline. It requires what I call the slight edge, doing a little bit more than everyone else, a little bit better than everyone else, a little bit longer than everyone else. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're in sales. The average salesperson makes 10 calls a day. What if you made 15? That's just 5 more calls, but it's 50% more activity. Over the course of a year, that's thousands more contacts, which could translate into hundreds more sales, which could mean tens of thousands more dollars in your pocket. All from just a slight edge in your daily activities. The third aspect of becoming valuable is developing your character, your integrity, your honesty, your work ethic, your reliability. These qualities might seem old-fashioned in today's fast-paced, shortcut-seeking world, but they are timeless. They never go out of style because they are the foundation of trust. And in business, in relationships, in life, trust is everything. You know, I've met a lot of talented people over the years who never reached their potential because they couldn't be trusted. They'd show up late or not at all. They'd make promises they couldn't keep. They'd cut corners when no one was looking. And eventually the marketplace caught on. Eventually opportunities stopped coming their way. Because talent without character is like a sports car without brakes. It might look impressive at first, but it's headed for a crash. On the other hand, I've met people with average talent who achieved extraordinary success because of their exceptional character. They were honest to a fault. They were reliable as the sunrise. They were diligent in all their dealings. And over time, the marketplace rewarded them handsomely. Because character creates trust, and trust creates opportunity. The fourth aspect of becoming valuable is developing your attitude, your outlook, your perspective, your approach to life's challenges. You see, attitude isn't everything, but it's the first thing. It sets the tone for everything else. A positive, solution-oriented attitude makes you someone people want to work with, someone people want to help, someone people want to see succeed. I learned this lesson early in my career. I was working at a department store, and I wasn't making much money. I was complaining one day about my circumstances, and a wise colleague said to me, "Jim, if you want to make more money, become more valuable." And the first step to becoming more valuable is to have a better attitude. At first I was offended. I thought my attitude was just fine. But as I reflected on his words, I realized he was right. I had been showing up to work just doing the minimum required. I had been focusing on what was wrong instead of how I could make things better. I had been waiting for my circumstances to change instead of changing myself. So I made a decision to change my attitude. I decided to be the most positive, most tactful, most enthusiastic person in that store. And you know what happened? Everything changed. Customers started asking for me by name. My sales increased. Management took notice. Within 6 months I was promoted, all because I changed my attitude. Now, did changing my attitude instantly make me wealthy? Of course not. But it set in motion a chain of events that led to greater opportunities. It made me more valuable in the marketplace, and that's the key principle I want you to understand today. Your income can grow only to the extent that you do. The fifth aspect of becoming valuable is developing your network. The relationships you build, the connections you make, the people you know and who know you. In today's interconnected world, your network is one of your most valuable assets. It's not just about who you know, it's about who knows you and what they know about you. I've often said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So look around at your current network. Are these people pushing you to grow, to improve, to become more valuable? Or are they holding you back, keeping you comfortable, encouraging mediocrity? If you want to become too valuable to be ignored, you need to associate with people who are already valuable, people who are already achieving the kind of success you desire. Find mentors, join masterminds at conferences where successful people gather. Put yourself in environments where excellence is the norm, not the exception. And as you build your network, remember this, networking isn't just about what others can do for you, it's about what you can do for others. The most valuable people in any network are those who add value to others without expecting anything in return. They make introductions, they share insights, they offer help. They give first, knowing that giving is the first step to receiving. The sixth aspect of becoming valuable is developing your brand. In today's digital age, everyone has a personal brand whether they realize it or not. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's your reputation, your perceived value, your market positioning. So let me ask you, what do people say about you when you're not around? Are you known for excellence? Are you known for integrity? Are you known for adding value? Or are you known for mediocrity? For cutting corners? For just getting by? Your brand isn't built overnight. It's built day by day, decision by decision, action by action. It's built by consistently delivering on your promises, by consistently exceeding expectations, by consistently being the kind of person others can count on. I remember a young woman who attended one of my seminars years ago. She was working as an administrative assistant at a small company, but she had big dreams. After the seminar, she decided to rebrand herself from just an assistant to an indispensable business partner. She started coming in early to prepare for meetings. She started taking notes on everyone's preferences and priorities. She started anticipating needs before they were expressed. Within a year, she was promoted to executive assistant. Within 2 years, she was operations manager. Within 5 years, she was chief of staff, earning 6 figures, all because she decided to rebrand herself from ordinary to extraordinary, from replaceable to indispensable, from ignorable to too valuable to be ignored. The 7th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your expertise, becoming a recognized authority in your field, someone people turn to for answers, for guidance, for solutions. In the information age, expertise is currency. The more you know, the more valuable you become. Now, developing expertise requires time and effort. It requires studying, practicing, experimenting, failing, learning, and growing. It requires what author Malcolm Gladwell popularized as the 10,000-hour rule. The idea that it takes about 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to achieve mastery in a field. But here's the thing about expertise: once you have it, no one can take it away from you. Once you've put in the time to become truly knowledgeable and skilled in your area, that expertise becomes part of who you are. It becomes a permanent asset that you can leverage for the rest of your life. I know a man who spent 5 years becoming an expert in a very specialized area of tax law. It wasn't glamorous work. It involved reading thousands of pages of tax code, studying countless court cases, attending specialized training sessions. But after those 5 years, he was one of only a handful of people in the country with this particular expertise. And because of that, he never had to worry about income again. Companies were willing to pay him $500 an hour for his knowledge, all because he committed to developing rare and valuable expertise. The 8th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your productivity, your ability to get things done, to produce results, to create output that others find valuable. In the end, the marketplace doesn't reward activity, it rewards results. And the people who can produce the most valuable results in the least amount of time are the ones who become too valuable to be ignored. So how do you increase your productivity? Start by eliminating distractions. The average person today is interrupted every 8 minutes, and it takes about 23 minutes to get back to the same level of focus after each interruption. That's a recipe for mediocrity. If you want to be exceptional, you need extended periods of deep, focused work. Next, prioritize ruthlessly. Not all tasks are created equal. Some tasks move the needle toward your goals, others just keep you busy. Focus on the former and eliminate, delegate, or minimize the latter. As Peter Drucker said, there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. Finally, leverage systems and technology. Find ways to automate repetitive tasks, to streamline your workflows, to multiply your output without multiplying your input. The most productive people aren't necessarily the ones who work the hardest. They're the ones who work the smartest. I know a writer who used to struggle to produce 1 book every 2 years. Then he developed a system. He started dictating his first drafts instead of typing them, which tripled his output. He hired an editor to polish his work instead of doing it all himself. He created templates for his book marketing instead of reinventing the wheel each time. Now he publishes 3 books a year, and his income has increased accordingly, all because he found ways to produce more value in less time. The 9th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your creativity, your ability to generate new ideas, to solve problems in innovative ways, to see opportunities where others see obstacles. In a world where routine tasks are increasingly automated, creative thinking becomes more valuable than ever. Creativity isn't just for artists and designers. It's a skill that adds value in every profession. The sales representative who thinks of a new way to reach potential clients, the accountant who develops a more efficient tracking system, the teacher who creates a more engaging lesson plan, they're all using creativity to increase their value. So how do you develop creativity? Start by exposing yourself to diverse ideas and perspectives. Read books outside your field, talk to people from different backgrounds, travel to new places. The most creative ideas often come from connecting dots between seemingly unrelated concepts. Next, give yourself time to think. Creativity requires mental space. It can't be rushed or forced. Some of the most valuable ideas come during moments of relaxation, in the shower, on a walk, during meditation. Build these moments into your routine. Finally, practice generating ideas without judgment. Quantity often leads to quality when it comes to creative thinking. Set a goal to come up with 10 ideas each day related to your work or personal goals. They don't all have to be good ideas. The point is to train your brain to be consistently creative. I remember a business owner who was struggling to differentiate his company in a crowded market. He started a creativity practice. Every morning he'd write down 10 possible ways to stand out. Most of the ideas weren't practical, but after a month of this practice, he came up with a service model that was truly unique. Within a year, his business had doubled, all because he committed to developing his creativity. The 10th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your resilience. Your ability to bounce back from setbacks, to persist in the face of obstacles, to keep going when others would quit. In a world that's constantly changing, resilience isn't just valuable, it's essential. You see, the path to becoming valuable is never linear. It's filled with ups and downs, successes and failures, breakthroughs and breakdowns. And what separates the truly valuable from the merely talented is the ability to weather these storms, to learn from failures, to grow through challenges. I've never met a successful person who hasn't faced significant setbacks. The difference is in how they responded. They didn't let failure define them, they let it refine them. They didn't see setbacks as stop signs, they saw them as detours on the road to success. So how do you develop resilience? Start by reframing how you see challenges. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger, wiser, more valuable? Next, develop supportive habits and relationships. Resilience isn't just mental, it's physical and emotional too. Take care of your health. Surround yourself with positive influences. Build a network of people who believe in you, even when you doubt yourself. Finally, keep your long-term vision in mind. Resilience comes easier when you're connected to a purpose larger than your immediate circumstances. When you know where you're going, detours become less devastating. I know a woman who lost her job during an economic downturn. Instead of seeing it as a catastrophe, she saw it as an opportunity to reinvent herself. She used her severance pay to take courses in a new field. She reached out to her network for advice and introductions. She started a small consulting practice to build experience while she looked for full-time opportunities. Within 6 months, she had 3 job offers, all paying more than her previous position. Not because she was lucky, but because she was resilient. She turned a setback into a setup for something better. The 11th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your communication skills. Your ability to express ideas clearly, to persuade effectively, to connect authentically. In almost every field, the ability to communicate well multiplies your value many times over. Think about it. How many brilliant ideas have gone nowhere because they couldn't be effectively communicated? How many talented people have been overlooked because they couldn't articulate their value? How many businesses have failed because they couldn't connect with their customers? Communication isn't just about words. It's about listening, understanding, empathizing. It's about tailoring your message to your audience. It's about being clear, concise, and compelling. And in today's digital world, it's about communicating effectively across multiple channels, in person, in writing, on video, through social media. I've seen countless examples of people who weren't the most knowledgeable or the most experienced in their field, but who rose to the top because they communicate exceptionally well. They could explain complex ideas in simple terms. They could inspire action with their words. They could build rapport quickly, and these skills made them too valuable to be ignored. The 12th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your leadership abilities. Your capacity to influence others, to set a vision, to build a team, to achieve results through collective effort. Even if you don't have a formal leadership title, leadership skills add tremendous value in any role. Leadership isn't about position, it's about influence. It's about inspiring others to perform at their best. It's about creating an environment where innovation, collaboration, and excellence can flourish. And in today's complex team-based work environments, these skills are more valuable than ever. I remember a young man who worked in a large corporation. He wasn't a manager, but he started acting like a leader. He took initiative on projects. He offered help to colleagues who were struggling. He brought positive energy to every meeting. He proposed solutions instead of just pointing out problems. Within a year, he was promoted to team lead. Within 2 years, he was managing a department. Not because he had the most experience or the most technical skills, but because he had developed valuable leadership abilities that the organization needed. The 13th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your adaptability, your willingness and ability to learn new skills, to embrace new technologies, to thrive in changing circumstances. In a world that's evolving faster than ever, adaptability isn't just a nice-to-have quality, it's a survival skill. The marketplace today is constantly shifting. Industries are being disrupted. Jobs are being redefined or eliminated. What's valuable today might be obsolete tomorrow. And in this environment, the most valuable people are those who can adapt quickly, who can learn continuously, who can reinvent themselves as needed. I know a man who worked in print advertising for 20 years. When digital marketing started to take over the industry, many of his colleagues resisted the change. They clung to their familiar skills and approaches, even as the market for those skills shrank. But this man took a different approach. He embraced the change. He took online courses in digital marketing. He volunteered for digital projects to gain experience. He found mentors who were already succeeding in the new environment. And because of his adaptability, his career thrived while others floundered. He became too valuable to be ignored because he refused to become obsolete. The 14th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your discipline. Your ability to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, between mediocrity and excellence, between being ignored and being too valuable to be ignored. You see, most people operate based on how they feel. If they feel motivated, they take action. If they don't, they don't. And that's precisely why most people aren't particularly valuable in the marketplace. Their results are inconsistent because their efforts are inconsistent. But the most valuable people in any field are those who show up consistently, who perform excellently consistently, who deliver results consistently, regardless of how they feel on any given day. They've developed the discipline to push through resistance, to overcome procrastination, to do the hard things that average people avoid. I've often said that discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. The small disciplines, reading daily, exercising regularly, consistently, practicing your craft diligently, might seem insignificant in the moment. But over time, they compound into extraordinary value, and the lack of these disciplines compounds too into missed opportunities, unfulfilled potential, and a life of what could have been. The 15th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your decision-making ability. Your capacity to gather information, evaluate options, and choose effectively, even under pressure or uncertainty. In a world with increasingly abundant choices and increasingly complex problems, good decision-making is a precious skill. Think about it, your life today is the sum total of all the decisions you've made up to this point. Where you live, what you do for work, who you're in a relationship with, how much money you have, how healthy you are. All these aspects of your life are the result of thousands of decisions, big and small. And your future will be determined by the decisions you make from today forward. So how do you improve your decision making? Start by becoming more aware of your decision-making process. Most people make decisions unconsciously based on habits, emotions, or what others expect. But valuable people make decisions consciously, based on their values, their goals, and careful consideration of potential outcomes. Next, gather better information. The quality of your decisions can only be as good as the quality of information they're based on. Seek diverse perspectives. Question your assumptions. Look for disconfirming evidence. The most valuable decision makers aren't those who are most confident in their initial judgments. They're those who are most willing to update their thinking based on new information. Finally, develop decisiveness. Analysis paralysis, the inability to make a decision for fear of making the wrong one, can be more costly than making a less than perfect decision. Learn to make timely decisions, even with incomplete information. As General George Patton said, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. I know a business owner who struggled with decision making. He would agonize over every choice, big or small, often missing opportunities while he deliberated. Then he developed a simple framework. For minor decisions, he'd give himself 60 seconds to choose. For moderate decisions, 60 minutes. For major decisions, 60 hours. This framework forced him to become more decisive, and his business grew accordingly. He became more valuable because he could move faster, seize opportunities quicker, and adapt to changing circumstances more readily than his competitors. The 16th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your focus. Your ability to concentrate on what matters most, to eliminate distractions, to direct your energy toward your highest priorities. In an age of unprecedented distraction, focus has become one of the rarest and most valuable skills. The average person today is bombarded with interruptions, emails, texts, social media notifications, breaking news alerts. And each of these interruptions not only steals time, but also fragments attention, making deep work and high-quality output nearly impossible. But the most valuable people have learned to protect their focus, to create environments and routines that support concentration, to say no to the many good things so they can say yes to the few great things. I've noticed that the most successful people in any field are not necessarily the most talented or the most intelligent. They're the ones who can focus longest on a single problem or opportunity. They're the ones who can shut out the noise and zone in on what truly moves the needle. They're the ones who understand that distraction is the enemy of value creation. So how do you develop greater focus? Start by identifying your most important tasks, the ones that create the most value, that move you closest to your goals, that utilize your highest skills. Then create protected time for these tasks. Turn off notifications. Close unnecessary browser tabs. Put your phone in another room if needed. Create an environment that supports deep work rather than shallow distraction. Next, practice focus like a muscle. Start with short periods of concentrated work, perhaps 25 minutes using the Pomodoro technique, and gradually extend these periods as your focus muscle strengthens. Like any skill, focus improves with practice. Finally, be mindful of your energy management. Focus isn't just about time, it's about energy. Identify when your energy is naturally highest during the day and schedule your most important, focus-intensive work during these peak periods. Save administrative, low-value tasks for your energy valleys. I know a writer who struggled with productivity until he developed a focus routine. Every morning, he'd wake up at 5 a.m., make a cup of coffee, and write for 2 hours before checking any devices. No email, no news, no social media, just focus creation. This simple routine tripled his output and dramatically increased the quality of his work. And the marketplace responded accordingly with higher paying opportunities and greater recognition. He became too valuable to be ignored because he learned to ignore the unimportant. The 17th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your problem-solving ability. Your capacity to identify challenges, analyze root causes, generate solutions, and implement effective actions. In every field, those who can solve problems consistently and creatively become indispensable. You see, most people avoid problems. They see them as annoyances, as obstacles, as things to complain about. But the most valuable people seek out problems. They see them as opportunities, as chances to demonstrate their value, as puzzles to be solved. They understand that their income, their advancement, their reputation, all of these are directly proportional to the size and complexity of the problems they can solve. I remember talking to a CEO about why he paid his top executive such an extraordinary salary. He said, "This person solves $10 million problems for me. Why wouldn't I pay him $1 million a year?" That's how the marketplace works. It pays in proportion to the problems you solve. So how do you become a better problem solver? Start by developing a systematic approach. Instead of jumping to solutions, take time to properly define the problem, to understand its scope and impact, to identify potential causes. Often a well-defined problem is half solved. Next, expand your toolkit of potential solutions. Read case studies of how others have solved similar problems. Learn methodologies like Six Sigma design thinking or the scientific method. The more approaches you have in your toolkit, the more likely you are to find an effective solution. Finally, develop implementation skills. The best solution in the world is worthless if it isn't implemented effectively. Learn project management, change management, and influence skills to ensure your solutions actually solve problems in the real world, not just on paper. I know an engineer who made himself invaluable to his company, not because he was the most technically brilliant, though he was very competent, but because he could solve problems that crossed departmental boundaries. He understood enough about engineering, finance, marketing, and operations to see how they all interconnected, and he could develop solutions that addressed the whole system, not just one part. This ability made him too valuable to be ignored, and he rose quickly to a leadership position. The 18th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your emotional intelligence. Your ability to recognize and manage your own emotions, and to understand and influence the emotions of others. In a world where most routine cognitive tasks can be automated, emotional intelligence, something no AI can truly replicate, becomes increasingly valuable. Emotional intelligence includes several components: self-awareness, knowing what you're feeling and why; self-regulation, managing your emotional responses; motivation, using emotions to achieve goals; empathy, understanding others' emotions; and social skills, building effective relationships. People with high emotional intelligence make better leaders, better team members, better salespeople, better negotiators, better customer service representatives, better at almost any role that involves human interaction. And that's most roles in today's economy. So how do you develop emotional intelligence? Start with self-awareness. Pay attention to your emotional responses throughout the day. Notice what triggers certain feelings, how those feelings affect your behavior. and the impact your behavior has on others. Journaling can be a powerful tool for developing this awareness. Next, practice empathy. Make a conscious effort to see situations from others' perspectives. Ask questions about how they're feeling and why. Listen not just to the words they say, but to the emotions behind the words. The ability to truly understand another person's point of view is rare and valuable. Finally, develop your social skills. Learn to communicate clearly and respectfully, even in difficult conversations. Practice giving effective feedback. Become adept at resolving conflicts. These skills make you someone others want to work with, someone they trust, someone they value. I know a consultant who built a 7-figure business largely on the strength of his emotional intelligence. He wasn't the most technically knowledgeable consultant in his field, but he had an extraordinary ability to build rapport with clients, to understand their unstated needs, to navigate organizational politics, and to deliver feedback in ways that people could hear and act upon. These skills made him too valuable to be ignored in a marketplace full of technically competent but emotionally unintelligent competitors. The 19th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your initiative, your willingness to take action without being told, to see what needs to be done and do it, to create opportunities rather than wait for them. In a world where most people are reactive, those who are proactive stand out and become indispensable. Initiative is about ownership. It's about treating whatever you're doing, whether it's a job, a business, a project, or a relationship, as if it belongs to you, as if its success or failure rests entirely on your shoulders. It's about thinking like an owner, even if you're an employee, like a leader, even if you're a follower. I've noticed that the most valuable people in any organization are those who consistently demonstrate initiative. They don't wait for permission to improve things. They don't need detailed instructions to get started. They see problems and fix them. They see opportunities and seize them. They consistently operate ahead of expectations rather than just meeting them. So how do you develop greater initiative? Start by expanding your circle of concern. Most people focus narrowly on their assigned tasks, but those with initiative look at the bigger picture. They understand how their work fits into the larger goals of the team, the department, the organization. This broader perspective helps them identify opportunities for improvement that others miss. Next, develop a solution-oriented mindset. When you encounter a problem, don't just report it. Come with at least one potential solution. This approach not only demonstrates initiative, but also makes you a more valuable contributor to any team or organization. Finally, embrace calculated risks. Initiative often requires stepping outside your comfort zone, trying new approaches, suggesting ideas that might not work. The most valuable people aren't reckless, but they are willing to risk failure in pursuit of innovation and improvement. I know a customer service representative who started as an entry-level employee, but quickly became one of the most valuable members of her organization because of her initiative. She didn't just handle customer complaints, she identified patterns in those complaints and suggested product improvements. She didn't just follow the script, she developed better scripts and shared them with her team. She didn't just meet her metrics, she found ways to exceed them consistently. Within 2 years, she was managing the department, not because she had the most experience or the most credentials, but because her initiative made her too valuable to be ignored. The 20th aspect of becoming valuable is developing your integrity. Your commitment to doing what's right, to keeping your word, to maintaining higher ethical standards, even when it's difficult or costly. In a world where trust is increasingly scarce, integrity becomes an increasingly valuable commodity. Integrity isn't just about being honest, though that's certainly part of it. It's about being whole, being consistent, being the same person in all situations and circumstances. It's about aligning your actions with your values, your words with your deeds, your private behavior with your public image. The marketplace rewards integrity because integrity creates trust, and trust creates opportunity. People want to work with, buy from, partner with, and invest in those they trust. And in today's transparent, connected world, a lack of integrity is harder than ever to hide for long. So how do you develop greater integrity? Start by clarifying your values. What principles are non-negotiable for you? What lines will you not cross, even for profit or advancement? What kind of person do you want to be, regardless of circumstances? Next, practice integrity in small things. Keep your promises even when they become inconvenient. Meet deadlines even when it requires extra effort. Tell the truth even when a lie would be easier. Integrity is built or broken in these daily choices. Finally, surround yourself with people of integrity. We tend to rise or fall to the level of our associations. If you want to develop greater integrity, spend time with those who demonstrate it consistently. Their example will inspire and challenge you.